our YouTube channel Make Science Easy with Dr. KMC. Today we are going to see an important topic of the quality assurance mechanism in every higher education institutions, namely the universities and colleges. So I would like to prefer a topic most important which need for all the higher education institutions, NIRF. NIRF ranking, a proven quality assurance mechanism in higher education institutions. The higher education institutions of India needed a proven quality assurance mechanism to build the confidence in the quality of higher education. The region lags at the bottom of the international rankings on quality, with the exception of a handful of well-rated universities. Many non-academic media such as magazines, newspapers and then career sites have measured the institutional quality and provide the ranking. The wide acceptance of such media rankings are questioned, as mostly influenced participation by very few institutions and mainly used for admission campaign. The National Institutional Ranking Framework, in abbreviation we call NIRF, was approved by MHRD and launched by Honorable Minister of Human Resource Development on 29th September 2015. This framework outlines a methodology to rank institutions across the country. The methodology or the norms or the procedure draws from the overall recommendations, broad understanding arrived at by a core committee set up by MHRD to identify the broad parameters for ranking various universities and colleges, and mainly to evaluate the institutions with India centric parameter or Indian centric parameter or the domestic centric parameter, and also to minimize the impact of media ranking run by non-academic agencies. The NIRF has gained its momentum and confidence of public as it covers all kind of institutions and transparency in result announcement. So the national ranking was used as one of the criteria to decide institutes of emergence and eminence when there was a tie break among institutions in India. India Rankings 2016, based on this framework setup, was released on 4th April 2016. The parameters broadly cover the teaching, learning and resources, research and the professional practices, the graduation outcomes, the outreach and inclusivity, and perception. So what are the various scopes and importance of the NIRF ranking? The central government has ambition to reach at least 50 higher education institutions in 1000 world rankings. That was our prime motto. On the other hand, the NIRF was launched to rank Indian higher education institutions using country-based parameters, as I mentioned, for inclusive and access education with the aim of international excellence to promote quality. The parameters used for the evaluation are in five major categories. As I mentioned, number one, teaching, learning, and resources, we call it as a TLR, where the core activity of the academic is measured. Number two, research and professional practice, RP, where the excellence in research outcome alone and research the scholarship is focused. Number three, the graduation outcomes, where the impact of learning outcome is measured as we call as the GO. And fourth is the outreach and inclusivity, we call as OI. Here the importance of economic, social and women representation. And finally the last fifth point is the perception, we call as the PR, by peer academic and employer, both the overall and the discipline specific rank are processed. So the open universities and affiliating institutions are eligible to apply only when they have teaching and or the research the campus or campuses. The institution must have the graduates with at least 3 batches of undergraduate and 2 batches of postgraduate, at least minimum the qualification for entering into the NIRF ranking. So the NIRF forces Indian institutions to maintain consistent data on themselves. Next we will see what are the ranking parameters and weightages they are given. The ranking formula and the distribution of the parameters varies depend on the type of the institution. The broad 5 categories of the parameters are further distributed into several subcategories, and weightages of each will be different and depends on the ranking discipline. Though few calculations look similar across the discipline, they vary in benchmarks. The generic formula is derived by assigning variable when there is a variation in value. The process of ranking begins from pre-registration and registration. The data collection is made from institution website, further integrated and publication the details, verification with stakeholders and permit data correction if any. The data must be visible in the website for next 3 years. The data collection for, as I mentioned, TLR, GO and OI are collected from the institution. The research productivity in terms of the publications, the citations, the patents are directly obtained from the publication databases. They will collect. The perception is obtained through peer rating of academic institutions, employers and funding agencies, etc. etc. Then the scores are calculated with the benchmark standards and results are announced. The mark assigned in each parameter is relative and then percentile score using the log function. The methodology of data collection, the changes in data parameters, its weightage and discipline specific rankings are continuously upgraded and improved since its inception. Also some of the parameters like the public, the perception, commercialization of the patent are dropped to ensure the data integrity. There may be so many questions among the institutions and colleges. Number one, how and what way it is related? Accreditation versus ranking. Accreditation is a 5-year comprehensive assessment of the institution, either it is a college or university or as a whole. But ranking is yearly affair. Every year it has been, assessed for ranking. So the accreditation gives absolute grade. Ranking is relative to other institution similarly placed. Number two, since there is already accreditation is going on by the NAC, should there be ranking too? We need accreditation is one time 5-year event by the NAC. Accredited institutions can slip in their yearly performance sometimes. The stakeholders are interested in knowing whether the institution, the university or college is doing better or worse at the end of every each year. So ranking is an annual report card to the nation and to the stakeholders, parents and alumni and parents, and then including the students, on what has been done by the institution in the last 1 year and the given performance criteria. And very few institutions have got the accreditation, whereas ranking is open to all for every institutions. So it is due to this reason that across the countries in India there is both accreditation and ranking we have been following for the overall quality assurance system in the higher education institutions. Number third question will be, can an institution which had a bad accreditation grade get a good rank and vice versa? It is possible. Yes, of course. The institutions can slip or do better after they got their accreditation. So ranking is a reflection of the yearly performance as I mentioned earlier. Number fourth is the score shown against each institution, the college or university, reflective of their performance is a question. The score is a relative score. The score is a relative score. This score, the assessed by the ranking, are not absolute. Therefore, a statement that the institution with fail marks is ranked in the top 100 is incorrect. This is not an absolute score. So you must know that the indicative of this each institution. In each parameter, the percentile score using the log function has been derived, which gives where the very few institutions have got the accreditation, whereas ranking is open to all as I mentioned. It is due to this reason that across the countries there is both accreditation and ranking. And fifth question is the how good is the data on which ranking has been done. So the institution have given that data certifying that it is correct. Even then the data has been checked, has been clearly checked vigorously and rigorously with reference to the data validations that have been built in. For example, if the annual fee is rupees 5 lakh and the institution is claiming that 80% of the students are from economically backward sections, there is an apparent inconsistency. So the NIRF checks such data with the institution and other regulator data. So most of the data pertaining to the research, which has a large weightage, is taken from third party and authentic sources like Scopus or Web of Science. This data is certainly valid and correct. So we must understand that the NIRF score as a reflection of where the institution is standing vice versa other institutions in the similar category. So what are the various disciplines of the Indian rankings have been followed with reference to the higher education institutions? It has been followed for number one, the overall university, and then for engineering colleges, management institution, pharmacy institution, the general affiliated or the other the constituent colleges, then architecture the colleges, and then law college, the medical college and dental college. So the program of the ranking is for all the programs have been carried out in the higher education institutions mentioned in the lecture. So we will see one by one what are the scaling of the parameters they have been assessing for the NIRF ranking. Number one is the teaching, learning and resources, we call as TLR. So what they have been assessing here is the student strength including doctoral students. They have been assessing in this parameter faculty student ratio with emphasis on permanent faculty. Then combined metric for faculty with PhD and experience. And finally the financial resources and their utilization in every higher learning institutions. So the ranking will cover all these categories with respect to teaching, learning and resources, we call as the TLR. And second is the most important is the research and professional practice. In this criteria, combined metric for publication, they are calculating from the Scopus or ISI, and then combined metric for quality of the publication with reference to the citation, H index and then the impact factor. Then they are assessing the IPR and patents published and granted, we call as IPR. Then footprint of the projects and professional practice, they have been assessing under the broad category of the research and the professional practice, we call as the RP. And third criteria is the graduation outcome. So here the metric for the university examinations, the passing out rate and etc. And then metric for number of PhD students graduated. So both the undergraduate, postgraduate and the PhD the outcome they are assessing, and the graduation outcome of the category third called as the GO. And fourth is the outreach and inclusivity. So in these criteria, the percentage of students from other states. So the rate of the inflow from the other states, interstate, the mobilization of the students communities to the region diversity, whether the particular institution is adopting. So that means the utilization of the nearby the states for the offering the education. And then percentage of the women, so the most important, women diversity. Then economically and socially challenged students, whether we have inducted in the admission. And then facilities for physically challenged students, facilities available, whether the ramp etc. available. And then perception ranking. So these all will be considered to calculate the ranking in the outreach and inclusivity. And fifth, the last point is the PR, that is the peer, the perception we call as academic peers and employees. This will be taken through the questionnaire. So the lot of the criteria wise and then inner components are considered for the ranking for the every institutions, which includes colleges and universities. So next we will see, so what are the methodology for ranking of the academic institutions. So what are the methodology adopted in every colleges and institutions in India? We call as the ranking matrices, and then metrics or the matrices for overall. Just for example I am giving for the overall, and this may differ from the various colleges and institutions. So number one is the salient feature, means the methodology. So methodology is based on the developing a set of metrics for ranking academic institutions based on the parameters agreed upon by the core committee. And we have also the parameters are organized into 5 broad categories and have been further elaborated into the suitable subgates. So third and similar way, we have a lot of the scopes available for the overall the methodology available in that. So based on that, a suitable metric is then proposed based on the data, which computes a score under each subgate, and the subgate scores are then added to obtain scores for each individual head. What I mentioned is the criteria. The overall score is computed based on the weightages allotted to each head. The overall score can be maximum value of 100. The overall score can be a maximum value of 100. The institution can then be rank ordered based on the scores. So who are all eligible? The eligibility for overall and discipline specific rankings. So learning from our experience of the earlier ranking exercises, it is proposed to have the following different ways of the ranking, and I think this will be the institutions who are all involved in this. As I mentioned, the institution will also be given a discipline specific rank as relevant, highly focused institutions with a single main discipline, as I mentioned, engineering, medical, law, management, pharmacy, architecture, or UG degree colleges in arts, science, and commerce, and with less than 1000 total sanction approved intake or enrollment, students will be given only a discipline specific rank. And then schools or departments of universities or institutions such as architecture, engineering, law faculty, management departments, pharmacy, etc. will have to register separately and provide the additional data in pertaining to the respective school or department if they desire to include in the discipline specific ranking list apart from the overall. In addition to that, undergraduate teaching institutions including the degree colleges affiliated to a particular university are also invited to the participate, and then also the discipline specific ranks will be also announced only in those disciplines which have a significant number of the institutions offer themselves for ranking, and the list includes some of the prominent institutions in that disciplines also. So the final decision on the ranking of a discipline will therefore be decided by NIRF after analyzing the data. We are also it applicable to the open universities and affiliating universities, whether state or central approved or funded. I think everything will not be there, uh, so will not be considered for the ranking. However, if these institutions have a teaching or research campus of their own, they are welcome to participate with data pertaining to only to their physical campuses. So data pertaining to their function as open or affiliating universities cannot be included in the submitted data. So the most important point is data pertaining to the function as open or affiliating universities cannot be included in the submitted data. So the ranking will be considered only for those institutions that have graduated at least 3 batches of students. So most important, at least 3 batches of students in full-time UG or PG programs where the duration is not less than 3 years for UG program and 2 years for the PG program. So while score computations of the parameters are similar for both the kinds of researching, on most counts the weightages are somewhat different on a few parameters to take into the account discipline specific issues. So thereby the data collections are been taken, and then we have been doing for the lot of data for the implementation details. They will collect according to that, and the previous year the National Board of Accreditation will continue to be the ranking agency on behalf of the NIRF. By 2020 they are taking it too serious, and then we have the options also if errors and corrections policy they are implementing in 2020. So all efforts will be made to display the raw data on the NIRF website after due processing by NIRF for cross-checking by the institution. So this is the data on which rankings would be finally computed, and we have the facilities. So what are the summary of the ranking parameters and weightages? As I mentioned, there are 5 the broad categories. Number 1 is the teaching learning resources. The marks will be 100. The weightage given for the overall institution is 0.30. Number 2, the heading is a research and professional practice, 100 marks. The weightage is 0.30. And then number 3 is the graduation outcomes. The marks 100 allotted and weightage is 0.20. And then outreach and inclusivity, the marks 100 and then weightage 0.10. Perception, the last, the final fifth criteria is 100 marks and weightage will be 0.10. So it all together, all the 5 will be considered, and then they will make it in the every component of the parameters they mentioned in each. So this is way that they are calculating for the simpler teaching, learning and resources. The total 100 marks, ranking weightage as I mentioned 0.30. The overall, the assessment metrics will be the TLR is equal to SS in the inner component 20 marks plus FSR 30 marks plus FQE 20 marks and FRI and 30 marks. Altogether it will be 100. So similar way, I think it's all given in the NIRF ranking, the websites. Every the institution that can go inside to the website, I can see that how they are evaluating and what are the various ranking methodologies they are following for the broad categories of the 5 ranking in the higher education institutions. They are given the inner components of the marking for every 100 marks and the weightage is calculated for the 5 criteria, the 5 major criteria. According to the overall ranking in the Indian 2020, they were mentioned, they are also given in the website. The number 1 is the Indian Institute of Science and the Indian Institute of Technology, the Madras. They are the first among the ranking in the 2020, and similarly Indian Institute of Science, they got second position and they were given the overall score, and then also the rank they are given. So similarly they calculated for every higher education institutions. It has been announced in the website of the MHRD, the NIRF portal. So the usefulness of the NIRF ranking, why we required the useful of the NIRF ranking. The NIRF has widely accepted among public and gained its importance. The institution started doing parameter wise comparison with their competitors. However, the ranking system is to be improved by nurturing the parameters with the following expectations: create national level database and implement the ranking by independent agency. And number 2, introduction of state category level ranking, as the state institutions and affiliated colleges have little scope on diversified student strength. Number 3, improve the verification and data authentication. Number 4, ensure and adopt dynamic changes in the parameter based on the institutional profiles. Number 5, introduction of H index institutions. Number 6, weightages for the national level accreditations. Number 7, extend the ranking list on each category. Number 8, consider innovative curriculum aspects. Number 9, extend scholarship for women and rural enrollment. Number 10, the strategic alliance policy for international collaboration. And finally, the last point is the quick and reliable process of recruiting foreign faculty and admitting students in every higher education institutions. So the government must deprive and then also derive the economic rational expected number of the global rankings, government and institutional strategy, identification of the potential institutions across the country, the required governance system and performance monitoring and measurements for that. So the government announced Institute of Eminence IOE status to select public and private institutions to aim for world university rankings in the next coming decades. To conclude that, the NIRF help the institutions to understand their performance by each year and to know the competitors and peer performance. So this has advantages like value perception, attracting the industry for better placement, and become reliable tool for parents and students, the stakeholders know about the institution. So the NIRF indirectly helps the top performing institution to build their brand and widely the publicity without any additional expenses on marketing and branding. So this is most important, and now that's why most of the higher ranking institutions, just based on their ranking grade, students are pursuing their degrees for their lifelong learning in the institutions. So at present, ranking is listed in top 100 for all categories and top 200 in engineering categories. So these are the status of now. At present, the ranking is listed for top 100 for all categories, general categories, and top 200 in the engineering categories. The score of other participating institutions are sent individually to their colleges. So while the institutions and matures on quality and scores high in each parameter, the list may be get expanded to cover more institutions, and the government may also expand the funding benefits on various schemes and to the expanded the list. So in this way, the NIRF process, why it is important, what are the methodology, what are the importance, what is the various useful of this, the NIRF ranking, all have been highlighted in my lecture. If you want to have more information about the NIRF ranking, I think you have to go into the website, and or you can contact the member secretary, National Board of Accreditation, the member secretary, National Board of Accreditation, NBCC Place, East Tower, NBCC Place, East Tower, fourth floor, Pragati Vigar, and then the Bisham Pitam Mark, New Delhi, 11003, Pragati Vigar, New Delhi, 11003. Any enquiry, please call to the telephone number +9111, the STD code 4015 9583, 9111 4015 9583. For email, anyone institution would like to contact, call through the email member secretary @nbaind.org, member secretary @nbaind.org continues. So also we have here the help desk at nirfindia.org, help desk @nirfindia.org. So the office will function from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. So you can contact very well, and also we have the technical query also. Email tech support @nirfindia.org. Technical support for contacting email tech support @nirfindia.org. So these are the contacting the details of the NIRF. I hope you all enjoyed the lecture inputs about the NIRF ranking and how they have been following and what are the various methodologies And then I may appeal to all the institutions, universities and colleges, please follow the instructions mentioned in the NIRF ranking portal, and then every institution to take part in the ranking process and make our Indian institutions in a global scenario in a top level. So with this, I thank everyone for the patient hearing. Thank you one and all.